Ooh, spooky stream this time around. Friday the 13th. The second I heard that Friday the 13th, the second I heard that Friday the 13th will be this month in October, I was like, I gotta do a stream on that day. I gotta. I mean, it's such a, not only is it Friday the 13th, it's Friday the 13th during spooky month. So, you know, nothing was going to keep me from streaming on this day. And also say happy birthday to a friend of mine, not online. None of you know him, but he's a real life friend of mine. His birthday is October 13th, and his birthday gets to be on Friday the 13th this year in October. Lucky him. Or maybe not so lucky because, Friday the 13th is the day about unluck, but lucky in the sense that he has a cool birthday this year. Well, I did wish him a happy birthday, but he's not the type to really make a whole fuss out of his birthday, which fair enough. I'm the same exact way. When it's my birthday, I usually don't mention it at all unless someone else mentions it first. Like, they say happy birthday to me, and I'm like, oh, thank you. Even though I don't really care about my birthday all that much, but whatever. Whatever, whatever, whatever. There is a girl in one of my classes this semester. Her birthday was 2 days ago, October 11th. So she's just 2 days older than my friend. Um, she was, she mentioned constantly in like the past week or two that her birthday was coming up. My birthday is on the 11th, and the 11th happened to be one of the days that, I had this class with her. She kept bringing that up, and I'm like, cool. I mean, I don't know you. Well, she wasn't saying it directly to me. She was just saying it to the class. But still, I was like, cool. I don't know you. I never spoken to you. I'll likely never see you again after this semester is over. So I don't really care that much about your birthday. I'm sorry, but whatever. I guess I'm mean. All right. There's some people in the chat. Just got out of the shower. What's up? Nothing much. Nothing much. Just just chilling, I guess. I did my usual routine, get out of bed at like 2 in the afternoon, lay in bed for like a half hour because I'm too lazy to get up, and then eat breakfast, and here I am now streaming. That's usually what I do right before these streams. Hello, the wheat greatness. How you doing? You're smoking some weed. Nice. When are you not smoking weed though? Seem to be always doing that. You're doing fine. That's good to hear. No, I'm doing pretty fine currently, but last night I got fucking just smacked in the face with depression. It happens sometimes. By the way, is anyone else having this weird problem with their YouTube app? It's still happening for me right now. It's been a problem for the past 2 or 3 days. No, 3 days, I think, at this point. Look, I got a notification right here. But I can't see that notification on my app because it keeps, for whatever fucking reason, none of my notifications are showing up. I don't know what the fuck the problem is. Maybe it wasn't a good idea to stream today because no one can. I don't know. Maybe other people. Well, I do know that other people have this problem actually because I went on the YouTube subreddit and I saw other people complaining about this. So maybe it wasn't the best idea to stream today when a lot of people can't even see their notifications on their app. And this is only a problem for me on the YouTube app. On desktop, the notifications are perfectly fine. But since a lot of people watch YouTube on the app on their phone, I think actually most people watch YouTube on their phones these days, right? As opposed to on desktop. But since a lot of people watch YouTube on their phones, this is a pretty big fucking issue. can't see their notifications, and this is how I primarily watch videos from, channels that I am subscribed to. I hardly ever go into the subscriptions tab, though maybe I should start making a habit of doing that. But, when I wanna watch a YouTube video from a content creator I enjoy, I go into the notifications tab and, find the video there. But, yeah, it's just a weird fucking issue I've been having the past few days, and I hope it's resolved because this is really annoying. What are your 3 favorite Eminem tracks? I know my absolute favorite is White America. The other 2, I don't know, actually. I'd have to think about that. I'm not usually the type to, like, rank things or well, I know my absolute favorite, Eminem album is Eminem Show, but I think that's a lot of people's favorite, so that's not really a groundbreaking hot take. I like Under the Influence, Stay Wide Awake, and I'm Back. Yeah, I like, Under the Influence and I'm Back as well. Stay Wide Awake, I don't remember that one. I haven't listened to Eminem in a while. I used to listen to Eminem a lot, uh, like 6 years ago. Yeah, 2017, I was, trying to get really into rap because, my whole life I've enjoyed classic rock and, classic metal the most. And I tried to expand my horizons by listening to more rap, and I enjoyed it for a little bit. Then I just kind of fell off and kind of stopped listening to rap. I don't know. I mean, it's fine if you like rap, and I like some rap. It's not like I'm absolutely opposed to listening to any song within the genre, but it's a genre that's mostly not for me, aside from a few exceptions. I do also really like Notorious B.I.G. Mostly his debut album. You prefer Relapse? That is a hot take. I respect that. I mean, I myself don't think Relapse is as bad as most people say it is, but I'm still like, it's just an all right album. You don't listen to much rock. Oof. Yeah, it's always been my favorite genre, rock, ever since I was a little kid. My dad was the one that introduced me to a lot of rock bands that I still listen to this day. He was he played a major factor into my taste in music. But yeah, like 6 years ago, I was like, I kind of want to listen to a different genre for once. At the time, I was starting to kind of get bored of listening to primarily rock and metal. But again, for whatever reason, I just kind of stopped listening to rap for the most part, or at least on a regular basis. And yeah, I'm back to for the past like 5 years, I've been back to listening to mostly rock and metal. It is what it is. September and October 2022 was the prime of my heavy drug use. Well, that's a year ago now, so you've been clean for a year, I presume. Remember you telling me you went to rehab around what was it, November? I never used opioids. I was using cocaine and meth. Yeah, I know, you've told me. I could never imagine doing drugs like that myself. I have 0 interest. I'm interested in maybe someday doing, like, shrooms or whatever, but, those are that's not a drug that'll, it's not like meth or cocaine or anything like that, obviously. Don't do drugs, or at least the heavy ones. Live by my dad's philosophy. Only do drugs that come from the earth. That's what he told me once. It's been crazy over in Gaza. Sure you've heard the news that Israel gave people in northern Gaza a 24-hour heads up that they got to evacuate the area. Well, not really a heads up, since these are people who are deprived of electricity, and not to mention also food, water, medicine, basic necessities one would need for survival, or a lot of people need for survival, especially food and water, of course. Expect 1 million people to mass migrate within a 24-hour period, which of course is impossible. The UN also said that is fucking impossible. It's just overall disgusting what's going on. I mean, of course, like I said in my video about this situation, I don't condone Hamas, or what Hamas did, I should say. I also don't really condone Hamas itself. It's a terrorist organization, but so is the IDF, of course. And, you know, Israel's continued occupation in Palestine, continued colonialism is what, brought about everything that's going on currently. So we're gonna see mass death over in Gaza. I got sidetracked from the chat, sorry. It's obviously just, just a way to save face, when so many people in Gaza die. Israel's gonna be like, well, we did warn them, even though they don't have fucking electricity. So how could we even efficiently spread the word over there? I don't know why, but I hate riding the city bus. It really levels up my anxiety sometimes. I ride the city bus. Well, I ride the city bus to class twice a week, and I remember it being. I first started riding the city bus when I was a freshman in high school, and it was anxiety inducing back then when I first started doing it. Because before that, in middle school, I would walk home. My mom would drop me off in the morning. Same thing with high school. I mean, my high school was on the way to her job, so she was able to drop me off on most mornings. Well, some days she would have to go to work earlier, so I would have to take the bus in the morning to high school, but for the most part she dropped me off. But in high school primarily I was taking the bus home after the day ended. And it was a little anxiety inducing, and I have had some bad experiences with people on the public bus. I mean, it's New York City. I mean, everyone here is an asshole. The stereotype is mostly true about us. Anyway. But these days I don't really think about it much. I mean, I'm so used to riding on the city bus now that it doesn't I don't really feel any anxiety. We are members of the Mob Deona, I'm sorry, stands for Man Against Belly Dance Association of North America. We demand Hoda and Jenna to sing. I don't know what the fuck you're talking about. I'm sorry. I used to go to a middle school downtown, and I would always see needles and syringes in the park at the school. What the fuck? Wait, the, a park by the school or like actually in the school? Because that's wild if you saw that in a fucking in like a middle school in like a middle school field or whatever or a park. I do remember one time when I was in I think 7th grade, so this was 2014, I think. Yeah, 2014. Um, there was a girl who brought a beer to school. I don't think she was sharing it, but she did drink the beer herself, and she was drunk, and she got into a fight. And all I know is she got in really big trouble. I think she got suspended for a little bit. She wasn't in my class or anything. I think I only had like I don't know 2 interactions with her ever, so I didn't really know much about her or know her at all. Actually, at the school, I live in a very drug-ridden city. Most of the crime here is petty theft and vandalism, and drug trafficking. Though we don't have as much violent crime. Thought I had a burp coming, but I lost it. Oh well. That's wild. You saw that at a middle school, though. I mean, it's not impossible for middle schoolers to be into drugs, but I don't think you really hear about that as much as of course, or high schoolers, or of course adults. I'm gonna have kind of a sucky weekend. I have 2 essays to write. 2 of my classes just so happen to assign essays that are due on the same day, this Monday. So I'm currently in the middle of writing one of them. Fortunately, one of them is not so long. Um, the minimum is 3 pages, and that's exactly what I intend to write. 3 pages. Um, despite being really into English and not to toot my own horn that much, but I'm not that bad of a writer, or at least when it comes to creative writing. But essays have always been the bane of my existence. Ugh. For me, the worst part is always just starting the essay. Um, I don't know, for whatever reason, when I open the Word document, I'm just like, I don't want to do this. I don't want to fucking start this shit. And I just procrastinate, or stall and stall and stall, which is admittedly kind of what this stream is, me stalling, because I don't really feel like writing an essay right now. I mean, I'll continue, of course, when I'm done with this stream, but overall, I just really don't like essays. And one of my classes, well, my professor accidentally put the due date as the 25th, next the following Wednesday after this week, when he meant to put, what was it, the 11th, this Monday. So at first I was like, "Oh shit, he pushed the essay back a week." So I have one weekend to focus on one essay and another weekend to focus on the other essay. Cool. This actually works out for me. But no, the professor updated us on Blackboard and said, "Oh, sorry, I meant to assign the essay for this Monday." I'm like, "Shit." I never said kids were doing drugs. I said people were coming on the property to do drugs. Must have been a misunderstanding. Well, when you said you saw syringes on school property, that kinda gave me that kinda gave me the insinuation that, the students were doing them since, those are b that makes up most of the people who go on the property. It's a really beautiful day out. Sky is nice and blue. Some clouds too. It's been nice. NYC has been having a streak of nice weather after so many fucking storms. Yes, I'm gonna bring it up again. I am tired of the fucking rain, or at least heavy rain, because for the past few months, I would have to be the one that would stay in the basement and watch out for any water that may come in. Well, the room that would flood in my basement is actually one of my uncle's rooms, and in July there was kind of something that went down that made him not live with us for a little while. I'm not gonna get into that. I'd rather not share like personal. Well, this isn't a super personal story, but it's still something I don't really want to share on YouTube. But bottom line is he moved in with my uncle in Jersey for a while, and we thought he wasn't gonna come back, or at least not come back for a long time. But last weekend he came back finally. So I don't have to be on basement watch anymore because that is his room. That's his room down there. He lives down there. So yeah, well, I would still have to come down and help out if the basement were to flood, but I wouldn't have to like actually sit down there and watch the door for hours on end. But going back to the nice weather, it's a relief that the weather's been for the most part nice because a few weeks ago, Jesus, I'm sure you've seen the wild videos on the internet of the major flooding that NYC faced. Thankfully, my borough was safe. I didn't get any of that major flooding, but I think it was Brooklyn that got hit really hard. Yeah, it was terrible. Like you couldn't even fucking see the streets. There was just a fucking river. See, there's 6 people here now. How are all of you doing? Are you all doing all right? Hopefully you live in a state that doesn't have such severe weather. A few weeks ago also, it was fucking we're in October and it was fucking like 80 something degrees. It's finally cooled down, thankfully. It's in the low 60s today, and the days for the most part, the this past week and a half has been uh, has been pretty, cool. Actually, kind of chilly, but like a week and a half ago, it was like 85 degrees, and we were in October, and I was like, "What the fuck?" Because usually by early October, I would already be wearing like a hoodie and sweatpants. But that day, I was wearing just a t-shirt uh, and shorts. It was weird. Why are you the only one writing comments? I know someone's got to cut you some slack. Doing all the work, writing the comments in the chat. Mostly joking, but it would be cool if more people interacted. Oh, more people are interacting. Spoke too soon. I live in Texas, so I only know brutal heat. Ugh, that's rough. Must be bad enough living in Texas. I can't imagine the heat down there. I'm sorry. I'm for all I know, you enjoy living in Texas. It's been gray and rainy on and off here for a few days. Yeah, a few days ago it did rain, but it wasn't like severe. It wasn't like a severe storm that caused major flooding. It was just drizzling, which that is fine. If it's gonna rain here, I just want drizzle. No more of the fucking heavy heavy rainfall. No, thank you. I live in Alberta, so I deal with extreme cold for 4 months of the year. So what I like about living in NYC, you get kind of a balance. When it's summer, it can get brutally hot here, and when it's winter, it can get brutally cold here. So you get two extreme you get both extremes here, usually. I mean, with climate change and all, the weather's been really fucky, but you know, before we've been dealing with the weird weather here, you would get, both extremes. But during like spring or fall, like we're in now, you just get, nice, cool weather, not too hot, not too cold. Like today, I mean, there's a bit of a breeze, but it's not, like I said, it's not like extremely cold or anything. It's my favorite kind of weather, when you have a perfect balance of it being, warm and, breezy. I remember when it was around 100 degrees Fahrenheit in my city or 40 degrees Celsius. Phew. Wow. In Alberta? Is Yandere Dev a good candidate for worst YouTubers of 2023? I'm not spoiling the list, but yeah, he might be a good candidate for worst YouTubers of 2023. This year has been great when it comes to horrible people on YouTube. That's probably not a good thing to say, but for me, I mean, it's content, so uh it's good in that sense, I suppose, because I have let me see, let me look at the list. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17 potential candidates for my list this year. Of course, I'm not going to do a fucking list of all 17 people. I'm sure there are people who would want to see that, but no. No, thank you. You can make the video for me if you want to see 17 people on that list, but no, I'm gonna narrow it down to 10 and probably do a, 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 you know, a, dishonorable mention like I do on most years. Mention like I do on most years. 'Cause 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 I do on most years. But yeah, so many controversies on YouTube this year. So I always kind of every time a year starts, I always kind of fear like, what if it's a boring year for YouTube drama? Like, what if, like what if I struggle to come up with 10 people by the end of the year? Because there have been some years where I'd be in November and I would have like 8 or 9 people in the list, and I'd be like, fuck, I don't have a full list. And then some YouTuber would come into clutch and do something horrible in like late November or December, and then I would be like, "Oh, cool! I got someone to add onto the list. Now I have a full list." But yeah, that whole Yandere dev situation, Jesus, that dude is something. I've been hearing about it a lot on my Discord server primarily, and I've seen some videos about that guy. And I've heard about him before this whole controversy. Before this whole controversy, I kept pronouncing his username as Yandir Dev. I didn't know what the fuck Yandere meant before like 2 weeks ago. And actually, I think I kind of forgot what it meant, what it means now. But yeah, I'm not into the whole weeb culture or whatever. But yeah, I've heard about this guy. I've heard about that guy before this controversy, and I knew it was kind of common knowledge for the longest time that he was a creep, or had very, I guess, eccentric viewpoints on like the age of consent and all of that. But yeah, now that's all coming to now that's now everything's just imploding for him. I just had a very brief or I had very limited knowledge of the guy beforehand. I knew he was making a game or whatever. I mean, it's literally in his name, Dev. I didn't know what the fuck the game was though, or the lore of the guy. And I still don't know the extensive lore on the guy. I mean, he's one of those lol cows that has like so many different that has this whole like extensive background, but I don't really care that much to know about all that though. There are more weed stores in my city than all the McDonald's, Burger Kings, etc. There's more weed stores than McDonald's where you are. I want to move to where you're. I want to move to where you're at. Fuck McDonald's. Just want to smoke weed. I did have McDonald's last week though. Um, Not proud of it. Um, I mean McDonald's is tasty, but it's shit that I'd rather not eat. But I was like, there's a McDonald's right around where I'm at currently, so I'm hungry. Why not? Usually, I think I've said this before, but usually McDonald's is like a last resort for me. I usually eat McDonald's when I'm really hungry, but there's nothing else in the area, so I'm just like, fuck it, I'll eat McDonald's because there's nothing else around here. Like when I was doing jury duty back in August, just one day, but uh, like I said, that my case was adjourned, so they called me. They called me and said, "Oh, you got to report to this courthouse on this date at this time, 9 a.m." I had to report, and you know me, I fucking sleep in until the afternoon, so waking up early in the morning was hell. I only got like an hour of sleep, so I went there, waited and waited and waited for like 2 hours, or maybe a little bit more than 2 hours, only to be told my case was adjourned and I can go home. So I I had to wake up really early, wait for a few hours just to be told that. Whatever. It's not like I really wanted to be on a case anyway. But anyway, after that, I had McDonald's because there was nothing else by that courthouse to eat. So, guess you've been eating well or good in that regard. Yeah, I have. Yeah, this year did not has not disappointed at all, and it's not even over yet. So, for all I know, there could be some other major YouTube fuck ups that happen in the last 2.5 months we have left of this year, and those people could make it onto the list. Yeah, I don't think I've ever had this many potential contenders for my my worst YouTubers list. Hopefully, 2024 doesn't disappoint as well. Your lists are my favorite New Year's tradition. Oh well, thank you. Yeah, I don't have anything else to do on New Year's usually, so yeah, I have fun hanging out in the premiere chat. It's always crazy how many people actually show up to watch those as they premiere too. I think last year in 2022, I had like I think over 40 people watching watching the video as it premiered. Wish I had that same kind of energy for my streams, but what are you gonna do? Uh, his game Yandere Simulator has been in development since 2014, and it took until 2020 for him to add the first rival. So, what was he just like sitting on the game, hardly doing anything for 6 years? Because I heard wasn't his game and like isn't his game in like development hell or something? I still don't really know much about the game. All I know is maybe this is all you really need to know about the game, but there's some anime girl running around murdering people or some shit. Well, for example, there are two Burger Kings, two Taco Bells, six McDonald's, but like 14 weed stores in my city. That's cool. Yeah, there's some weed shops by me, by where I'm at. But when I wanna score some weed, I usually just buy it off a friend. They're a little bit more generous with the prices because they're my friend, of course. Your worst lists are like the Oscars, but the nominees are all degenerates. I mean, yeah, yeah. Except there's no award I give out in my videos. Yeah, I do really like doing those videos. I mean, of course, they take more time than my usual videos, which most of my videos span from like 4 to 7 minutes in length, and those lists are always over a half hour long or over 40 minutes long. I think all of them are. But I have fun doing them, and it definitely pays off because those always end up being, uh, you know, videos that get a lot of attention. Hang on, I got a text. I got distracted for a second there. Okay. Okay. Back to focusing on this stream. Sorry. I just had to uh write someone back. Important matters. Well, not really, but yeah. Microsoft's acquisition of Activision Blizzard was finalized today. Yeah, I heard. I didn't actually read any articles or watch any videos, but I saw on my YouTube notifications that some channels I'm subscribed to are talking about that. I guess that means my video made a few months ago aged horribly, but whatever. Actually, I did get a comment on that video today. Something like, "Oh, sucks for you," but Microsoft did actually acquire Activision today, and I'm like, you got me, whatever." Right before I started this stream, actually, I think I got that comment. On one hand, I'm kinda happy. I don't have to fucking hear about that story anymore, about Activision I mean, about Microsoft acquiring Activision because it got to a point where I'm like, "Ugh, more news about this shit?" I mean, it was interesting, yes, and I was kinda rooting against Microsoft because I think this ultimately isn't good for the video game industry. I don't wanna see one platform acquire, all these major publishers because, people wanna try to equate it to what Sony does where Sony acquires, individual studios that they've already had long-standing relationships with, and it's not the same thing. Activision is a major video game publisher that has multiple studios under its belt. It's a huge fucking conglomerate in the video game industry, and now it's all just been swallowed up by Microsoft, whose pockets are fucking endless. You know, uh, I don't think that's good for the video game industry. Because realistically, how is Sony and Nintendo well, I don't think Nintendo really gives a fuck. They're not really in the they're not really, I don't really consider them a competitor to Sony and Microsoft, but again, but I'll reiterate, how are the other companies realistically going to compete with that? Because Sony and Nintendo's value is nowhere near the value of Microsoft. So they can just continue to buy, and buy all of these video game publishers and leave Nintendo and Sony out in the fucking dust. Because, like I said, their pockets are endless, and Sony and Nintendo have nowhere near as much money as Microsoft does. I mean, Microsoft is literally worth over $1 trillion, right? So yeah, that's my whole 2 cents on that. I don't think I'll make a video about it. Not that you're asking, but just putting that out there. By the way, how's the audio in this stream? Last stream, one person was saying that the audio was really bad, and I never watched these streams after I finished streaming. I never, uh, I just was never really that interested in rewatching these streams or just watching these streams after I'm done streaming. But someone was complaining that in the last stream that the audio was loud, would continuously go quiet, and then I was listening to it after I finished streaming, and I was like, "Holy shit, I sound like I'm underwater." I'm not really gonna get into the whole specifics of what I did to fix the microphone if it is fixed, but I just had to fuck around with some settings and hopefully now it's normal. Because for whatever reason, I noticed when I did a test stream shortly after my last stream that was private. None of you saw it, of course, but I would see the input volume for my microphone, the built-in microphone in my computer. That's what I use for these streams. The input volume would keep going down and up and down and up. It was weird. Hopefully that's fixed now. Audio is fine. It's fine. Cool. Nice. Yeah, hopefully, that won't be a problem anymore. You're gonna blast some music for like 10 minutes. Well, hopefully you won't piss any neighbors off or anyone else that lives with you. When I want to blast some music, I just blast music into my ear. Hooray for ruining my hearing. Oh yeah, Cenk Uygur from TYT is running for president. I see that on my YouTube timeline on my phone. Video from Vosh that I might watch after I'm done with this. Or really, after I'm done with this stream, I need to go back to writing an essay, but that's no fun. Rather watch YouTube. But yeah, I heard about this from Kyle Kalinske the other night that Cenk Uygur is actually trying to run for president. Well, there's kind of some hurdles that come with that because he wasn't born here. He was born in Istanbul, Turkey. So he's not a native born American citizen. So, obviously, it's a law in this country that people who weren't natively born here cannot run for president, which I find kind of bullshit. But at the same time, I don't want Jank fucking Uger running for president. But he is gonna try to challenge that, I hear, in the Supreme Court and try to fight to have that overturned. Which good fucking luck. I don't think that's gonna fucking happen, especially with the Supreme Court we currently have now. Then again, if he does get that overturned, that opens the floodgates for Elon to have a presidential campaign, and I guarantee you, if either Elon was born here or we never had a law that prohibits people who weren't natively born in America from running for president, he would absolutely try to run. He would have absolutely have tried to run by this point, and who knows, maybe he would have won. Ugh, that's a scary thought. I live in a corner house, so I only have one neighbor, and he doesn't get into my business despite my window facing his front yard. Well, I would hope he doesn't get. Well, no neighbor should get into any other neighbor's business, but I see. I live in a cul-de-sac. Lived in a cul-de-sac my whole life. Maybe that's part of why Ed, and Eddie is one of my favorite cartoons because the whole thing takes place in a cul-de-sac for the most part. I mean, some episodes where they're in school. I know about yeah. I live in the corner of a cul-de-sac, and it's nice. I mean, it's nice and quiet here. I live in a mostly quiet neighborhood, but it's especially quiet where I'm at because it's a again it's a cul-de-sac. It's not a neighborhood in front of a busy that has a busy street or anything like some places here. I mean, there's some houses where I'm at. Some houses are right in front of a major busy street, and I'm like, "Ugh, that must be fucking hell, especially trying to get out of your house, but there's a bunch of cars driving by. Or I mean, trying to get your car out of the driveway, and there's a bunch of cars driving by. Ugh, yeah, that sounds like a fucking hassle. That if I had a car, I wouldn't have to deal with because again, I live in a cul-de-sac. but I don't drive. I don't really have much need to drive since I'm in New York City. I mean, public transportation takes you fucking everywhere. I mean, I know the conveniences that come with having a car, but eh, don't really need one. Don't need the uh unnecessary expense. I also live in a cul-de-sac, but I live on the corner of a cul-de-sac. Yeah, same. My house is at the corner as well. Well, the way my houses are in this neighborhood, the way the all the houses are in this neighborhood, they're attached to each other. It's not separate houses, so I'm the house that's at the end. Again, I like where I'm at. It's quiet, never any drama. Well, actually, last night, I don't know what the fuck happened, but there was a police car outside. The sirens were on. There was also a van outside. I don't know what the fuck was going on. I saw that, flipped off the cop or the cop car because you know how I feel about cops. But no, I don't know. I didn't see any cops outside. I didn't see any neighbors outside or anything. So who knows what the fuck happened? I prefer my cul-de-sac over a busy street. I'm sure anyone would prefer living in a cul-de-sac over having a house that's right in front of a busy street. Because again, like I said, there's houses on major streets right by where I'm at, and there's always cars driving by, or sometimes there's traffic, especially if it's right by the highway. And I always wonder how the fuck do these people get their cars out of the driveway? Must be horrible. Yeah, it's nice, quiet, and private where I'm at. Unless my neighbor is drunk. I've had to deal with that sometimes. She I don't know her that well, but all I know is that she is a really nasty drunk. She used to have a boyfriend that lived with her years and years ago. They broke up in like, I don't know, 2013, 2014. So this is going way back, but he, from what I remember, I've had interactions with him back when I was a kid when he used to live here. When he used to live next to us, I mean, next door to us. He was a nice guy. I don't think he really drank that much, but she fucking well, she doesn't really have much. Well, she probably does still drink, but she hasn't had any outbursts while drunk in a long time. But they'd have screaming matches with each other. She would get fucking nasty, from what I remember. And since the houses are connected to each other, we had to hear all of that. And sometimes that would be in like the middle of the fucking night, like 1 or 2 in the morning. So that's one of the downsides of living in a house that's attached to another house. But for the most part, she's quiet. She travels a lot, so a lot of the time she's not even home. There was one time where she was so fucking drunk that she couldn't get into her house, and she was just banging on the door. Uh, yeah, but again, I haven't had to deal with that in a long time. You live in a rural area, yeah. I wonder what rural life is like since I've lived in New York City my whole life. I'm a city boy, as some would call it. I don't live in a duplex like you said. I live in a separate house. I once had an outburst while on crystal meth. Not much different than alcohol, in my opinion. Yeah, well, not firsthand. I've seen outbursts while someone is on crystal meth, but I've seen videos over the years of how crystal meth can fuck you up, and how some people behave while high on crystal meth, and it's obviously not pretty at all. It's actually kind of scary. Well, again, I've seen heroin withdrawal firsthand, and that was not fun at all. Not fun. It only solidified, you know, me being sure that I'll never do drugs like that ever. Weed is fine, of course. Maybe someday I'll do, I don't know, uh, stuff like shrooms or whatever, but heroin, meth, cocaine, no thank you. No thank you. And like I've said to ad nauseum, I think, people should people should absolutely receive help rather than be penalized for their addiction. But I already made a whole video about that, and I've talked about that a lot on these streams, so I don't think I really need to reiterate what I've already talked about to ad nauseum. Alcohol is so normalized in our society, despite many drunks acting as violent as people high on drugs. Yeah, it's always been very perplexing to me. I mean, obviously this country at least tried banning alcohol at one point. We've seen how much of a miserable failure that was. And you know, well, obviously alcohol was legalized again in this country. But it's funny. There's so much of a stigma surrounding, drug users, and people say, "Oh, drug users are so violent, they're crazy." When people who are drunk, a lot of people who are drunk aren't really that much better, you know? There are so many irresponsible people who drink alcohol, consume alcohol, and they do shit like drive while under the influence, but there's no massive call to ban alcohol like there is with drugs. It's not stigmatized like drugs are when alcohol is a drug itself, and again can fuck you up in similar ways that a lot of drugs are capable of. But no, no, we gotta we gotta punish the drug users and outlaw drugs. I mean, like I've said before, I don't condone the usage of shit like heroin, cocaine, meth. Those are horrible drugs that have a decent chance that you have a decent chance of getting hooked on, and are capable of ruining your life or even ending your life. But again, if you want to do them, I don't think anyone should really. I don't think it's anyone's. I don't think you should be put in prison for doing them. But like again, there's so many parallels between alcohol and the hard and and drugs when it comes to how one behaves under the influence. But for whatever reason, uh, drugs are stigmatized, but alcohol isn't. It's always been weird to me. Hello, EcoPunk. How are you doing? Snorting meth hurts, so I smoked it instead. Yeah, I've heard that snorting drugs can be rather painful. Think I've heard of people getting nosebleeds after snorting drugs too. Another deterrent from me doing drugs, or at least the drugs that, you're able to snort. No snorting, no needle injections for me. I already don't like needles anyway, so it's very quiet where I live, though very rarely I hear coyotes in the woods and gunshots from hunters. And no coyotes or hunters where I'm at because this is obviously New York City and there's none of that goes on around here because, we uh, don't really have wildlife like that here. Even of course there is wildlife, but we don't have shit like coyotes or anything here. That's more well, I don't know if there's coyotes upstate, probably, but when it comes to like, forests and wildlife and all that, that's more something you'd see upstate. One of the only problems with weed is that it can cause cannabinoid hyper hypermesis syndrome if you smoke like 28 grams a day, and you'll have to take a tolerance break to get rid of it. It's not permanent. Yeah, I know. I when I smoke, I'm not a heavy smoker like that. I usually smoke like a joint or two, and that's good enough for me. Or do some hits from a bong or eat some edibles. I don't go crazy like that or anything. None of my friends go crazy like that either with weed. Meth hurts a lot more when snorted than cocaine did. Oh, I'm sure, since meth is a lot stronger than cocaine is. Gunshots, that's a severe emergency situation up here in Canada. Well, in rural America, that's just another Tuesday. Really shows the cultural differences between Canada and this country. People should blame the person for their actions, not the drug. Agree or disagree? Oh, I absolutely agree with that. It's like drunk driving. We never blame the alcohol. We blame the person consuming the alcohol because they made the choice to consume alcohol and then drive. Uh, Finally, that came out. Holy shit. And drive while under the influence, you know? Like I said, there's no major calls to outlaw alcohol, and yet drugs are so demonized in this country, or well, really, in a lot of places in this world. We feel the need to police what people put in their bodies when it comes to drugs, but when it comes to well, alcohol is a drug, but you know what I mean. But when it comes to alcohol, we're just so permissible. That's not to say I think that alcohol should be outlawed or anything, but I'm just saying it's a weird double standard. You know, People want to police when it comes to drugs, but when it comes to alcohol, oh, that's fine, whatever. I only smoke around 4 grams a day, so I should be fine. Yeah, you should. I remember hearing a ridiculous argument from someone online some years ago. I completely forget who the fuck it was, but they didn't want drugs to be legalized in this country because they're like, what, you want to have people show up to work high while under the influence, you want people to drive around under the influence on drugs. And I'm like, one, there's already rules at many jobs or pretty much every fucking job to not show up on the job while under the influence of any drugs or alcohol or anything of the sort. And two, There's already people who drive under the influence, when it comes to alcohol. So, like, what the fuck would be the difference? That's most erroneous shit I ever heard. Ugh. Wearing a Led Zeppelin shirt this time. I think I think on some streams before I wore this shirt. I don't know. I'm sure I have worn Led Zeppelin shirts in the past. I mean, it's not much of a mystery that I'm a Led Zeppelin fan. I love that poster, by the way. I got it for my I think it was my 15th birthday or 14th, either one of those 2 years, but that's been hanging in my room for years now, and I don't ever intend on taking it down. My room is just littered with posters, as you probably already know. Look at all that shit. And over here too. But at the same time, I kind of want some video game posters, but of course, I would have nowhere to put those, so eh. I only have sports ball posters in my room. I used to have baseball posters in my room way back when I was a kid, mostly like Yankees shit. I know a lot of people hate the Yankees. I used to talk to someone in Discord who had a very passionate hatred for the Yankees, but my father was a major Yankees fan. He really pushed baseball on me as a kid. He would force me to play baseball with him. Those were never really fun experiences. Sometimes I would get hurt or the ball would hit my head, and rather not relive those memories. But he would put baseball shit in my room. Uh, had another burp coming, but I lost it. Oh well. I just had breakfast right before streaming, so that's fine. Anyway, but he was also a big Giants fan. He doesn't really care as much about sports. Like he doesn't really care about sports that much these days, like he used to. I mean, he still kind of keeps up with it, but he thinks there's more important things to pay attention to than just sports. He's really big into politics. Now you know where I got it from, but anyway, um, he would also put like Giants posters in my room. All of those are long gone now. I actually did have a little Yankees baseball poster in my room for the longest time, but I got rid of that too because I don't care about sports. I never cared about sports all that much. I don't watch sports games. Well, I did enjoy watching the World Cup with my grandmother back when she was alive. It was especially really fun watching that one World Cup game where Germany absolutely fucking destroyed Brazil. But anyway, um, yeah, I never really cared about sports. Maybe that maybe those bad experiences playing baseball with my father sullied my opinion on sports. I did make a whole video just like a month ago or a few weeks ago about why I don't care about sports. So yeah, I guess I don't really need to go in depth into that in this stream because I already talked about that. But yeah, I smoked weed in a Taco Bell with my friend Austin. I also did the same in an empty McDonald's place. It was Austin's idea. McDonald's place. Well, that takes me back. Remember, every time I would go to McDonald's as a kid, I was back when I used to go to McDonald's all the time because I find that when you're a kid, McDonald's is better, I guess. I don't know, but as I got older, of course, I stopped eating McDonald's as much. But back when I was a kid, I would eat McDonald's all the fucking time. And after I would eat, I would go into the play place. And the the play place at my local McDonald's used to have GameCube kiosks. I know one kiosk had the Cars game, video game based on the Pixar movie. The other kiosk had what the fuck was that game called? It had a Nickelodeon show, or was it based on the Nickelodeon show? I forget. Either the show was based on the game or the game was based on the show. Tack, I think it was called. But one kiosk had that, and there was one kiosk that never fucking worked, and there was one more kiosk. There were four in total that had a game, but I completely forget what game it had. But those kiosks were there up until like 2017. Yeah, that was when that McDonald's had a major renovation and those kiosks were taken out. But I'm surprised those fucking ran for as long as they did. Or I should say, I'm surprised those GameCubes ran for as long as they did. They're in these kiosks that were on all fucking day. I'm sure they were turned off after a certain hour, but still, they were on for hours on end every day for God knows how fucking long, up until 2017. And they were there since I was a little kid. So, yeah, just find that kind of impressive. Makes me confident that this GameCube right here, that I've had for 10 years, that still works fine, still has a long way to go, God willing. My local play place is still open for some reason. I mean, I don't see any reason to get rid of it. Let the kids have their area to play at the fast food place that a lot of kids enjoy. I mean, after my McDonald's was renovated, the play place was still there, albeit it's very different than what it was when I was a kid before the McDonald's went under renovation. But yeah, um, it still exists. Another McDonald's right by me also got renovated recently. It still, up until just a few months ago, it still had that old design with the red roof and all that. I don't know. I mean, it's not like I care that much because I don't go to McDonald's, but I don't know. It after the redesign, it just the building looks kind of fucking boring. Doesn't really have any character to it anymore. Again, I mean, it's not that big of a fucking issue. It's a McDonald's building. Who fucking cares at the end of the day? But still, just to see everything become so, well, I was gonna say corporatized, but McDonald's has been an evil corporation for a long time. But just to see everything become like gray and boring. It's just kind of depressing. You know, let buildings have color and character, but at the end of the day, again, it's just a McDonald's building. It doesn't matter that much. I like to smoke weed when I go out to eat with my parents slash friends because it gives me the ability to finish what I order. Well, you can't finish food unless you get high. I'm not shit talking you or anything. I just find that kind of funny. The red pill movement is stupid in my opinion. It's very, very stupid. And of course, it has captured the minds of a lot of young boys. But I have some faith that they'll grow out of it because, like we've seen with the anti SJW movement, a lot of people who were, kids or teens back then were, they eventually grew out of that shit. Of course, there are some who never did, and they're like outright fascists at this point. But for the most part, a lot of people look back at that era of the internet and they just cringe. But of course, there is still a startling amount of people who seem to have never mentally progressed past the year 2016, and they just yearn for that year to come back, or at least the edginess that was so prevalent on the internet back then to come back. And I'm just like, are you so devoid of a personality that you're so desperate for a year where people acted like dipshits that most people have grown out of by this point to come back because you can't assimilate into how a lot of people act today. My friend William used to be a huge red pill dude, but then he grew up. Yeah, that's the story of a lot of people who were part of the anti SJW movement. Yeah, I was part of the anti SJW movement at one point, but then I turned 17. I'm sure you're gonna hear the same thing in a few years about the red pill movement. You're gonna take a fat bong rip, have fun. The GameCube is like the Range Rover of video game consoles, extremely durable and lasts a very long time. Yeah, there's videos on YouTube of people just absolutely destroying their GameCube, or at least the outside of their GameCube, and and it still manages to turn on. Maybe it won't read a game anymore, but it'll turn on because the only thing in the GameCube that's weak is the laser. Those tend to die, but thankfully the laser in my GameCube is fine. Oh shit, there's 8 people now. Cool. How are all of you doing? The GameCube is better than the N64. There's probably some people out there who would murder you for saying that, and who cares? I love the GameCube. I can't really I can't accurately compare it to the N64 because I've never owned a N64. I've never actually played on an N64. I've played N64 games like Ocarina of Time or Mario 64 or some other games too. Or the original Paper Mario. Those are the ones that come to my mind immediately. Oh yeah, Majora's Mask. Never cared for Majora's Mask that much though. I know that's a super hot take, but whatever. But yeah, I played Ocarina of Time just recently. I play the GameCube port. It's pretty much the original game, but just on the GameCube and with Master Quest added. Though I've never really fucked around with Master Quest all that much. But a lot of people say that game didn't age well at all, and of course visually it didn't, and of course the controls are kind of rough. But I don't know. I was I didn't really have much problems when playing the game. Maybe it's because I played it so many times at this point that. But overall, yeah, I'd say the GameCube definitely had games that aged better. I mean, of course, it's one generation ahead, but I mean, yeah, the N64 definitely had its problems though. Like not like for example, it didn't go with discs. It still utilized cartridges. which really shot Nintendo in the foot because cartridges didn't have as much storage as discs did. So a lot of games didn't go on the N64. And of course, Nintendo shot themselves in the foot again when they did go with discs, but they went with the ugh, they went with these tiny pieces of shit instead. This is Wind Waker, by the way. Never played the Wii U version, but they shot themselves in the foot again with this shit. A lot of third party devs didn't want to put their games on the GameCube because of the tiny discs. Because it would require because a lot of there were some games that like Resident Evil 4, for example, that were on two discs because the entire game couldn't fit on one disc. A lot of developers didn't want to deal with that shit, so they opted to just skip out on the GameCube instead, as opposed to putting their games on the GameCube. Even though the GameCube actually is considerably more powerful than the PlayStation 2, but the PlayStation 2 had the player base, so didn't really matter that much, I suppose. The PS2 was such a behemoth though that even if the GameCube had normal sized discs, I don't think it would have outsold the PS2. But if it did have normal sized discs, I'd imagine there'd probably be at least a little better third party support for it, and maybe it would have sold at least a little better. But whatever. The small discs are kind of cute though, I guess. Oh, where did I leave off? So many people are typing in the chat now. The what the Whataburgers where I live still have character after all these years. I don't think there is a Whataburger near me. It's one of those restaurant chains that aren't here in NYC, I'm pretty sure. I've heard of the place, but I've never actually been to it. I know some people were shocked, have been shocked before when I would mention this, but there's no Walmarts here in NYC. I've only been into a Walmart like maybe I don't know, 5 times in my life because there's a Walmart out in Long Island that I've been to a couple of times because I think there were times where it would have stuff that wasn't sold near me, so my family would just go there. And I would go too because I'd be like, I've hardly ever been into a Walmart, so why not go make a trip out of it? But yeah, people would say, how could you not have been to a Walmart that many times in your life? But there's none here, which is probably for the better. We have Targets here though. I have some hope that Gen Alpha will grow up and realize how dumb the red pill movement is. I don't like generation bashing. I don't like generation bashing either. Hold on. Sorry. Yeah, I don't like generation bashing either. Well, there's some exceptions though. I like remember the okay boomer meme from a few years ago. I admittedly found that kind of funny, even though it did become kind of overused, but you know what, the boomers tend to generation bash Gen Z, so why not give them a taste of their own medicine for once. But anyway, yeah, I'm confident that the kids who are really into the red pill shit now will eventually grow out of it because again, we've seen that with the anti SJW thing. A lot of kids and teens that were around for that era that were fully into that shit in that era. A lot of them ended up going out of that shit. So can I think the red pill movement has the same exact fate because reactionary politics makes sense when you're young and stupid. But then when you grow up and get more life experience, there's a decent chance you won't believe in that shit anymore. I compare it more to the Kia Soul. What, the GameCube? Maybe. I order large meals when I go out, and the weed makes it taste better. No offense taken. I guess so. I never really noticed foods tasting better after I smoke some weed or eat an edible or whatever. The N64 is overrated. LOL. Kill me. Oh, I don't know. I've enjoyed the handful of N64 games I've played, but yeah, I've even though there are a lot of people who say it's their favorite console of all time, I do also see a lot of people online say, no, actually, the console wasn't all that great. It suffered a lot of issues, like I mentioned. It utilized cartridges instead of discs, which again really shot Nintendo in the foot when it came to third party support. The N64 only had like what 300 games on it. Meanwhile, the PS1 had thousands. Jesus, I mean, when it came to which console you were going with in that generation, it was a fucking no brainer. But no, not to mention also the controller. A lot of people don't like. I mean, there are third party solutions now that make it that make the N64 be more in the same vein as a GameCube controller, where it's only two handles and it doesn't. It's a little bit more of a traditional controller. But then again, I've never held an N64 controller in my hand, so I can't really speak to how awkward it may be to control or use. I'm sure if you played it as a kid, and if you played it as a kid all the time and still play on it, it's probably like second nature using it. But yeah, while of course N64 games did not age well at all when it came to visuals, at least when it comes to like Ocarina of Time and Mario 64, a lot of people complain that those games don't control well at all in this day and age. But at least when it comes to Ocarina of Time, I have no problem playing that game. It's the same thing with original Resident Evil 4. So many people are like, I can't play this shit. It has tank controls. It's so weird to control. And I'm like, I've never had an issue with how that game controls. I remember on your band t-shirt video that someone says they might kill someone if they see them wearing a band shirt of a band they don't listen to. Oh god, that fucking comment section. One of the worst comment sections under any of my videos. Well, I don't know. I've had quite a few comment sections that are pretty vile, but that one is bad because it just fucking annoys me. Because I don't know, I've never been the type to really care about what clothes one wears, unless like they're wearing like a fucking swastika shirt or or something disgusting along those lines. But in those cases, at least, they're wearing a shirt that represents a horrible ideology. When it comes to people wearing band T-shirts of bands that they don't listen to, I'm like, I I can't bring myself to care. It's just clothes that harms no one. I don't know. A lot of people disagreed with me on that. I think even people in my own audience disagreed with me on that. Which, whatever. I mean, I don't make videos to please people, but I don't know. I've just always found it so perplexing that people wearing band T-shirts that have band logos of bands that they didn't listen to is such a hot button issue. Like, if I came across someone wearing a Pink Floyd shirt and I mention that they had and I say, "Oh, cool, I like Pink Floyd too," which I probably wouldn't do. I have horrible social anxiety, so I'm not the type to really go up to a person and talk to them unprovoked, let's just say I did do that, and they said, "No, I actually don't listen to Pink Floyd. I'm just wearing the shirt because it's a hand-me-down, or it looked nice, or it's comfortable, or whatever." I'd be like, "Oh, okay, whatever." I wouldn't, like, get angry or get emotional or anything because I just don't fucking care. Whatever, if they're not a fan and they just like the way the shirt looks, or it's just comfortable, or again, it just didn't have anything else to wear that day, who cares? Who cares? N64 had good games, but it was a bit of a clunky system. Yeah, it definitely had its share of issues. Even the SNES aged better for being the gen behind, in my opinion. Well, on average, 2D games do tend to age better than 3D games, especially 3D games from that era. It's kind of why I like that. It's kind of why I don't have much of an issue that Mother 3 never ended up being an N64 game. I mean, you can argue that, the game didn't live up to its full potential. It was supposed to be a much bigger game on the N64 than it was, on the Game Boy Advance. But, the game looks more in line with, the first two because, it's a 2D game. And, I think the game is good enough. I mean, the game was supposed to have a lot more chapters on the N64 than it did on the GBA, and I think the GBA version was a long enough game. But who knows? Who knows? Who knows what could have been? The mini discs. Yeah, that's one of the few things I don't like about the GameCube. The mini discs. Like when I'm playing OG Resident Evil 4, and then I get to the part where after you defeat Salazar and Leon goes to the island with Ada, you get the end chapters. You get the the end chapter screen, and then after that, you get a message on screen saying you gotta now swap disc one with disc two, and I gotta get up and change the disc. I mean, at the end of the day, it's not that big of a hassle, but kind of annoying. Twilight Princess visually aged pretty well. The story is a bit wonky, but the gameplay more than compensates for the somewhat wacky story. Twilight Princess, in my opinion, is a top tier Zelda game. I mean, yeah, of course, the story is a bit weird, but when it came to the dungeons and gameplay, that game is fucking great. Some of the best dungeons in the entire franchise, in my opinion. And a lot of people say, I actually have seen people say that Twilight Princess didn't age that well visually. But I don't know. In my opinion, it's still a pretty looking game. It's mainly because it had that more realistic, art style, as opposed to like Wind Waker that had the cell shaded art style that, of course, aged better than Twilight Princess. I mean, it's kind of an undeniable fact that the OG, that OG Wind Waker did age better visually than Twilight Princess, but I don't know. I played Twilight Princess on the GameCube. I also have the Wii U version, but my Wii U isn't plugged in, and I have nowhere really to plug it into. But I play the just last month or in August or whatever. I played Twilight Princess, and I think that game still looks really pretty, really impressive too for a game that was on a console that released in 2001. I know it may not have aged as well as say Wind Waker or maybe the realistic art style, didn't age super well, but I think it's still a really impressive game for its time, especially I mean, I know it also came out on the Wii, but especially like on the GameCube, it looks pretty. I think it's one of the most visually impressive games on the GameCube. alongside both Metroid Prime games, Resident Evil 4. My go-to order at McDonald's is the McGang Burger, Junior McChicken, and McDouble in one. Yeah, sometimes I have the burgers. I prefer Whoppers though. Well, I'm hardly ever in a McDonald's, and I'm in Burger King's even less because there aren't as many Burger Kings as there are McDonald's here. Also, the GameCube discs only had 1.1 gigabytes, and full-size discs have 4 to 8 gigabytes of storage. Yeah, I know. That's why a lot of developers skipped out on the GameCube that generation, despite, the GameCube itself being more powerful than the PS2. People just devs just wanted to put their games on the PS2, and that was it because one, it had a huge fucking player base, and two, they didn't have to, they didn't have to deal with putting their games on more than one disc because the PS2's disc had way more storage than the GameCube's did. I don't know. They could have made the GameCube a little bigger to fit a full size disc in, but whatever. Still love the console anyway. Mini discs look cool. Yeah, some of them do look cool. Like Wind Waker's, for example. I mean, this disc looks like it's made out of gold. Looks really nice. All right, I'm done taking the disc out of the console. I don't feel like reaching over. The mini discs are cute, though. Yeah, they are cute, but I still would have preferred normal sized discs over mini discs. People are starting to realize that Tara Strong is a terrible person. Yeah, she posted that tweet the other day. I shared it in the my Discord server. Let me find it. Uh this is only the beginning. They were smart enough to start with a country that people love to hate, which is, insinuating that Muslims are gonna attack the world. We're under attack. They're a threat. Jesus fucking Christ! Talk about a fucking mask off tweet. Jesus. That's disappointing too, because Tara Strong is a voice. She's a great voice actress and voiced so many characters in so many cartoons that I watched as a kid. I don't care for Fairly Odd Parents as much these days as I did as a kid, but Powerpuff Girls, OG Powerpuff Girls, one of my favorite cartoons of all time. I didn't think Bubbles would become would turn out to be an Islamophobe. Wasn't there controversy a few years ago? I made a video about her, but I forget what the fuck that was about. Something about an Uber driver. I remember defending her in that video too. I would have to watch it again. It's been the video was made back in like 2017, I think. But no, I remember back then people were calling her an SJW. Oh, she's woke. Not so woke now. I wonder if the Switch will beat the PS2 in sales by the end of 2023 or sometime in 2024. It's very close to passing the DS and may have already passed it. I thought it already did pass the DS, honestly. I guess it didn't. I don't know. I know it beat the Wii, right? Did it? I think. I don't know if it'll beat the PS2 though. How far behind is the Switch? Okay, Boomer was funny. Yeah, it was funny seeing the boomers freak out about that. That meme died. Didn't that meme die after that girl in the Bernie shirt was dancing and saying "Okay, Boomer" or whatever? I don't know if that was the death knell of the meme, but I think I did notice the meme kind of die down a bit after that because that video sparked some weird controversy or whatever. Oh no, I lost my place. Ugh, so many fucking comments in the chat. Before I was complaining, only one person was participating in the chat. Now there's so many people here. Oof. Despite my diet being McDonald's and other fast food places, I'm underweight for someone who's 5'10". Doesn't that all depend on metabolism? I mean, there's some people who eat like a trash can, but they still don't gain any weight. And then there's other people who do eat like a trash can and they gain a whole bunch of weight. The human body comes in many forms. I got a YouTube notification, but I can't see it because for whatever fucking reason, the app doesn't let me see notifications right now. It just says this: your notifications live here. Well, you can read it on the screen, but I can't because for whatever reason, from on the YouTube streaming dashboard, the video is mirrored. It's not mirrored for you, but it's mirrored for me. Or at least I don't think it's mirrored for you, but if it was, but whatever, it doesn't really matter that much. It astounds me how back then people said the PS2 was more powerful than the GameCube, even though the GameCube has better frame rate. It's objectively not as powerful as the GameCube. It's the one time Nintendo made a console that was more capable than a PlayStation console. But unfortunately, the small discs kind of fucked Nintendo over. My boyfriend has one of those more traditional GameCube style controllers for his N64. It's nice. If I ever do end up getting an N64, which I don't know if that'll ever fucking happen, but if I ever do end up getting an N64, I probably would get one of those controllers. Or I don't know, maybe I would just uh maybe I would end up really enjoying the OG N64 controller. I don't know, but um yeah, it just looks really awkward to handle. It's also wireless like the Wavebird. Oh, cool. I would get a Wavebird, but the controller itself I don't think is that expensive, but the fucking receiver goes for like 80 or $90. I think it's the same story with the Game Boy Player startup disc. A lot of kids ended up losing that receiver, and now it's rare. And or I don't know if it's rare, but it's not. It's not as common to come across as an actual Wavebird controller is. And also, the Wavebird doesn't have Rumble. For me, Rumble it just adds to the immersion. I love Rumble, and the GameCube controller had pretty nice Rumble. It's part of why I like the DualSense for the PS5 a lot. The haptic feedback and adaptive triggers just adds to the immersion. Really cool controller. If only it didn't drift. Well, I've had a I bought a DualSense last year because I had started having drifting issues and with my previous DualSense, but thankfully I haven't had any problems with this DualSense for a year. Knock on wood, I don't end up having a drifting issue again. But if I do, I would have to go out and buy another DualSense because the only other alternative is buying that stupid Pro DualSense that costs like $250 or something erroneous like that. That lets you change out the sticks with no issue at all. Yeah, we have a solution to stick drift. Buy our stupidly expensive Pro controller. Fuck you. It's so weird that stick drift is such a prevalent issue because I don't think it was that much of an issue on old consoles. I mean, the Dreamcast had it fucking figured out, and that console came out in 98, 99. It had Hall sensors for the sticks. And the GameCube even had a fucking solution. I don't know what kind of sensors it has for the controllers, but it has a button input that you can put in at any time, either when the console's booting up or I think even when you're still in the game. A button input, a button combo you can press that recalibrates the controller. And yeah, this is such a fucking prevalent issue for modern consoles. I can't believe it. I've played Mario 64 DS, but not the original. Mario 64 DS, in my opinion, is the definitive way of playing the game. So much new content. If only if only we got a console remake of Mario 64 with all of the features and content from the DS version added in. I would buy that in a second. Imagine being so snowflake and butthurt about people wearing band t-shirts. That comment section is hilarious. Yeah, well, hilarious to you, but really annoying to me. I don't wear band t-shirts, though I prefer crooks and castles. I think the comment section under your "Don't Hurt Children" video that were literally encouraging child abuse was far worse than any comment section that ever was or currently is on your channel. Does that video have people encouraging child abuse? I know under my video about children being annoying, the one that has over 10K views, that video gets comments from time to time from people who do legitimately want to harm children. And I'm like, nope, this disgusting fuck is gone. Goodbye. You're blocked. But sometimes those do end up slipping through the cracks, and I end up not seeing some of those comments because YouTube sucks when notifying you that someone comments on your videos. Sometimes I don't get a notification. So if there are any comments like that under the I hate children video, it's likely because I haven't seen the comment because it slipped past my radar. And also, not to mention, sometimes comment notifications are buried by other comment notifications or video notifications, shit like that. Kind of wish there was a way to filter YouTube notifications so you can just see like comment notifications or new upload notifications. Whatever. I played Mario 64, F-Zero X, Banjo-Kazooie, GoldenEye, and a bit of Ocarina of Time, which I should really go back to sometimes. Definitely on the GameCube version, though. Well, Ocarina of Time, it's on the GameCube. It's pretty much the same game. Really, nothing different aside from the fact that you're playing on a GameCube and not on an N64. And also, of course, there's Master Quest on the GameCube version. Oh, gotta charge my laptop now. All right. Oh yeah, and Perfect Dark, which is my second favorite N64 game. Cool. You should definitely go back to playing Ocarina of Time, though. It's genuinely one of my favorite games of all time, and my second favorite Zelda game, right behind Wind Waker. I really don't want to. I really don't care about any of those contrarian fucks who are like, "Oh, Ocarina of Time is overrated. It didn't age well." I don't care. I'm listening to "Stay Wide Awake" by Eminem right now. Cool. Yeah, that's fair. That's why a lot of indies go for the pixel art style. I should probably hurry up when it comes to reading these posts because I think some of these comments are responding to things that I said like 10 minutes ago and I don't even remember what I said. Even the PS1 had multi-disc problem with its CDs, mainly the Final Fantasy games and Xenogears, mostly JRPGs. Uh, Lost my place again. Ugh. There were some pretty big holes in Twilight Princess's story that really dragged it down story-wise, such as Ganondorf coming back, or Zelda magically being revived after seemingly sacrificing her life to save Midna. Yeah, I wasn't too crazy about Ganondorf coming back, like, at the end of the story. I kinda wish it was the other dude that was the main villain. Forget his name, but, his fight was actually kind of it was actually pretty fun, though. The dude that was the side villain, not the main villain, because, of course, that was Ganondorf. His fight was really fucking hectic and fun. I also found it really fun when Ganon possessed Zelda in not Ocarina of Time in Twilight Princess's final fight. Spoilers, I guess, if you haven't played Twilight Princess, but it's a fucking the game came out in 2006. It's almost 20 years old. But yeah, I found that funny. I was like, "Oh, is there something you want to tell us, Ganon?" I'm all for you living your truth, but I don't think that's the way to go about it. The messages are really behind. Yeah. I mean, whatever. There's so many messages here that, and I take so much time when responding to a lot of these, so mm, it's kind of my fault. There's music playing somewhere outside. I don't know where the fuck that's coming from. The Bacon King is awesome. I don't know what that's in reference to. I don't know what the Bacon King is. Nintendo always seems to be behind on technology for some reason. Well, they don't really care about, having the most popular, well, they do have the most popular console on the market. They don't really care about having the most powerful console on the market. And to an extent, I do kind of, I guess, admire that. I mean, they definitely do prioritize on making fun games rather than visually impressive games. But at the same time, that kind of shoots themselves in the foot because the Switch is rocking a Tegra X1 chip, a chip that came out in 2015, and I believe was a chip that was already considered underpowered when the Switch came out in 2017. And now, the Switch. I mean, I wouldn't say the Switch is getting no third party support, but it's getting really shoddy third party support. I mean, it just got a disastrous port of the latest Mortal Kombat game. And, I don't think there's really much third party support for it as there was when it came out. Like, we're not seeing as many big AAA third party titles come out for it. And if they do come out for it, there are also instances where you only have to fucking stream it because the Switch can't handle natively running the game. Like, for example, Resident Evil Village that came out last year. It took over a year to come on the Switch, and you can only play it via cloud streaming, which I imagine if your internet connection isn't top tier, it's probably a fucking nightmare to play. Hell, there was a Panasonic Q, a GameCube called the Panasonic Q that played full-size disc. It's very rare and expensive now. Yeah, I know about the Panasonic Q. It's a nice looking console, but only Japan got it. We didn't get it. It probably factors into why it's so expensive now. The Earth is not flat. Thank you, Mikey Archives, for stating the obvious. That's my old Courage profile pic, too. You know, I've actually been thinking about using that profile picture again. I like it. I still have it saved in Google Photos. Just funny that someone else still has it. Yeah. Well, maybe I should ban the person, but whatever. It doesn't really bother me that much. I thought that show was for little girls. What show? Oh, I'm so behind on the chat. I don't even know what you're referring to. I think the Switch is like 20 million behind the PS2. Is it? Well, we're kind of at the end of the Switch's lifespan now. The the Switch 2 is projected to come out next year, which, unlike the Switch Pro rumors, I do believe there is a Switch 2 coming out. I mean, God, there has to be a Switch 2 coming out at this point with how underpowered the Switch is. And you know the Switch is gonna be 7 in a few months. This upcoming March. Where the fuck does the time go? When it comes to GameCube memory cards, do you use the aftermarket cards with more space or the original ones? Aftermarket. This is the one I use. It's orange. It lights up when the GameCube is on. It also has this little button that it's basically 8 memory cards in one. Every every memory card within this memory card has over 2000 blocks of storage, and you press this button when the GameCube is on. It kind of goes through pages, kind of tricking the GameCube into thinking another memory card was inserted into it. It's really cool. I have way more space than I would ever need. I don't even know if you can actually fill up this memory card. I don't think there's that many GameCube games. I don't think there's I don't think there's enough GameCube games out there to even fill up this memory card to the brim, but no, it's still nice to have all this storage though. And it's been pretty reliable. I've had it since 2020 and it's never failed on me. And knock on wood, it doesn't fail on me, but I also do have another memory card um inserted into the GameCube, which is this old Mad Catz memory card that I've had since I was a little kid. I've never had an official OEM GameCube memory card. I use this one. This memory card serves two purposes: one for nostalgia purposes, and two, just as a backup memory card in case something ever happens to my main memory card. It's easy to eat a ton of fast food in a walkable city. Well, in New York City, there's a lot of great local places here, so I don't really see much need to eat stuff like McDonald's and all that. I'm big because there's a lot of great uh, local places here. I lost my place again. What the fuck? All right. You'd probably get used to the original N64 controller. Yeah, maybe if I used it a lot, I'd probably end up getting used to it. You just realized you set the video back by 8 minutes. Hello, Olin. How you doing? Hella buffering where I work. Oof. Well, hopefully, nothing's going on at my end. There is a way to get around the Game Boy Player disc. You just need a specific third-party memory card and a copy of Wind Waker to bypass it. But it's kind of a scuffed way of doing it. Yeah, I know there's ways around the Game Boy Player disc, but when I got the Game Boy Player disc last year, I had no clue about that memory card trick. I thought you just had to like mod the GameCube to get the Game Boy Player interface to work. That's what the fan made software is called, I believe. But no, back then I thought you just had to mod the GameCube to get the Game Boy Player to work without the disc. So I just sucked it up and spent over $100 on the disc. But I don't fucking care. I mean, I know people say the games look better on the fan made software as opposed to the official software on the disc. But honestly, I'm not crazy about that. The disc works just fine. I'm fine with just using that. And plus, I'm a nerd for playing things as intended when it comes to the GameCube. So it's nice playing. So it's cool playing Game Boy games on the official Game Boy Player software for me. That's the only way I play Game Boy games too, because I don't have a Game Boy Advance or any Game Boys for that matter. I never owned any. So my Game Boy player under my GameCube is the closest thing I have to owning an actual Game Boy. Well, it is technically an actual Game Boy, or an actual Game Boy Advance, I should say. It has the same exact internals. It's not emulation that the GameCube is. It's not the GameCube isn't playing Game Boy games via emulation. It's actually natively running on the GameCube, which is cool. You probably already know that. I just like sharing all my useless knowledge when it comes to the GameCube, even if people don't care. That's my cat Charlie meowing outside of the door. He wants to come in, but I'm ending this stream in a few minutes, so he can wait. Sorry, I've been talking for 2 hours continuously. It does wonders on my voice, on my throat. Yeah, I just like playing with a GameCube controller. I understand where you come from because I don't like it when people say Sonic Adventure 2 is overrated, which is one of my favorite Sonic games. I can never get into the Sonic games. I've tried Sonic out and I just never really cared for it. Though I've never played the Sonic Adventure games. Maybe I'll get that eventually for my GameCube. I don't know. I have Sonic Gems. I got that as a kid. I never asked for it. I think my dad just got it for me one day because he was like, "Oh, maybe this will be a game you'll like." Um, I think that game actually goes for a pretty good amount of money these days on eBay. I would sell it, but that disc is in hard condition. It doesn't even work anymore, which is unfortunate. Much like a lot of games I owned as a kid, I didn't take care of my childhood GameCube at all, or my games as a kid at all, because I would always eat pizza or any other type of food, and I would also like to eat waffles with syrup while playing on my GameCube as a kid. Of course, not this GameCube. I got this GameCube as a birthday present 10 years ago for my 12th birthday, but yeah, my childhood GameCube was fucking destroyed. It was the platinum GameCube. I don't think the disc cover even opened anymore. All right, 2 hours and 5 minutes. I would end the stream here, but there's still a lot of messages to go through. So once I reach the bottom, I am out of here. I need to get back into Majora's Mask. I could never really get into Majora's Mask that much. I mean, a lot of people say it's one of the best Zelda games, but for me, I just could never really get into the game all that much. Not even because of the time limit. It's just a game I never cared for. Maybe I'll get more in depth into that someday, but not now because I actually want to end the stream very soon. The worst thing I've ever received on Halloween while trick or treating was a damn toothbrush. Yeah, there's some people in my neighborhood who give out bullshit like that on Halloween. Just give the kids candy for God's sakes. It's obviously not good for them, but it's Halla fucking ween. If you don't want to give kids candy, just don't participate. Ganon is trans confirmed. What do you prefer, a PC or Mac? I guess Mac. That's what I'm currently using, but I'm not one to really give that much of a shit about 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 computer OS. I think people who are engaged in either computer OS wars or phone OS wars are fucking losers. A 2017 console having a 30 gigabyte chip is like a 5th-gen fighter jet having an engine that was manufactured in the 1940s. Nintendo is so pathetic sometimes, I swear. Hopefully the Switch 2, even though I know it won't be, will at least be, not severely underpowered. Like it would be. I don't expect it to be on par with like the PS5 or the Series X, but hopefully it's capable and we'll have, a chip that'll and have a chip that'll, be a little bit more competent than the first Switch's chip. Found it really stupid that they made Kingdom Hearts 1 and 2 cloud streaming only on Switch, as those are literal PS2 games. Some third-party devs are just lazy with it. Yeah, it's not all. I should correct what I said earlier. It's not always the case that the Switch can handle natively running the games. Some devs just don't give a shit. I love Nintendo's contrast in the video game department. They're, for the most part at least, top tier, but in regards to business practices, they're one of the worst companies in gaming history. Abso-fucking-lutely. Abso-fucking-lutely. Horrible, horrible company that makes great games. I really need to include all the words in a single message for once. I don't know what you're referring to. I'm always scared to use aftermarket memory cards because I've heard horror stories of the ones that cycle through pages can delete your saves. That's actually kind of a misconception. Some people think just pressing the button deletes your saves. It doesn't. It just cycles through pages and just have to keep pressing the button until it goes back to the page where you have your saves on. That you have your saves on. OB got arrested again. I highly doubt that because I suspect that you're a troll, but I really don't care all that much because I'm about to end the stream, so whatever. I'm going to take another fat bong grip. Cool. But if it works for you, that's good. Yeah. Wasn't OBA from like 2016 or something? Why do people still talk about him so much? I don't fucking know, actually. I mean, he's fun to clown on sometimes, and Jesus, I really need to turn the light on, but I'll do that after I'm done with the stream. But there's still a large sector of people who still really care about him so much, even though he hasn't been making videos for 7 years. Because 7 years ago, he was arrested for possessing child pornography. Really, really swell guy. I remember on the 6th anniversary of his arrest, people were saying, well, he got arrested and he got sentenced to, I think, a little over a year. And then he had, like, I don't know, 5 years probation after that. And then on the 6th anniversary of his arrest last year, like 20 chuckle fucks were in the replies under his last video saying, "Today's the day. He's going to come back to YouTube because his probation is over." And I'm like, where the fuck did these people get their information from? Because nothing I read said that his probation would end exactly on the day of exactly on the 6th anniversary of his arrest. But whatever. I need to move on. Tomorrow is the solar eclipse. I don't see any article saying he was arrested because he didn't, because that was just a troll saying that, trying to just make shit up, I guess. Anyway, I gotta go. It's been like 2 hours. See ya. He was arrested for killing a child. Sure he was. We just hit the 2 hour and 5 minute mark. Yeah, we're over that now. I would have ended the stream already, but there's so many comments here. Do you have a source? Don't even engage. Sonic Gems collection as Sonic R, Sonic CD, and Sonic the Fighters, which are not great games. So maybe I'm not missing out on much with having a shitty disc that doesn't function. I'm gonna stop posting questions so you can end the stream sooner. Peace out. Thank you for being considerate. I remember the Wii being able to run GameCube games because the Wii is essentially a GameCube, a slightly beefed up GameCube with motion controls. Has almost exactly the same architecture, I believe. I was watching a live stream of someone playing Castlevania, and they were complaining about how anyone who uses an iPhone just can't be careful with their technology. What? Which is stupid because I'm very tech savvy and still use an iPhone because I like the hardware and the OS. Yeah, I'm just so used to iOS that I can't see myself switching over to Android. Whatever, the hardcore Android fanboys can yell at me for that all day and night. I don't fucking care. Spooky Mikey. I know I'm gonna turn on the light and make my bed after finishing this stream, which is right now. Thank you all for being here. This was a really fun stream, really active stream. Jesus Christ, thank you for coming out in droves and making the chat so active. Hopefully the next stream is like this, and yeah, you all take care, and I'll probably stream sometime in November. When in November, who fucking knows? Anyway, see ya.